So I want to ask all of you today, and this is something, can you write this down? You've got a pen and paper? Please, it's very important that you have an answer to these questions. And that is, what are you passionate about? Because it's a bit hard to get juiced about presenting if you're not passionate about something. Let me repeat, it's a bit hard to get juiced about presenting if you are not passionate about something. Okay? There's only so far you can go in making up something that you are not. How many university seminars, conference, industry presentations have you given? Okay? And how many years since PhD, post-PhD are you? So we've got those in PhD. Hands up for 5 years, within 5 years out. Some of you, okay. And 10 years out, some of you. Then 20 years, like me. Okay, in the back row, yes. All right. So, you know, there are all these factors that you can use as excuses for, well, I will present as I am and I'm not going to change. Fine. Here's an example of what I have become known for in industry presentations, and that is showing 2 contrasting videos. That's one of the strategies I'm going to talk about today. A very effective way of presenting to industry is using contrasts. Okay, and then people see with their very own eyes the differences that you want to make. So the use of contrast is one of 6 strategies I'm going to talk about today. You'll see enough of this as we go through, so I won't show you too much. But I can run both of these and I say, what have we got here? We've got 2 factories, textile factories, about 50 kilometres north of Hong Kong. How are these factories still in business today? They're still making money. They're still making money today. How can they do that? 3 things. They are small, they're under the radar of regulation. Number 2, they pay piece rates, which is against the law, but because they're small, they don't get found out. And number 3, one of them is secretly outsourcing. Which one? Okay, so there's the question. There, let me just stop my presentation there. There's the question. I gave comparison, I gave facts, and then suddenly I told you, they're not the same. One is outsourcing and one is not. And then I asked you, the audience, so which one? Okay. So I talked and talked and talked. I gave some facts. I talked some more, and then suddenly I ended with a question. Very important when you're trying to get the audience into your content. Questions are very, very critical. I've got a list of these strategies later on as we go through, but I want to give you a taste of what we're talking about here. Trying to bring presenting to a new level, okay? And I deliberately was loud because you need to bring energy into the room. Yes, you've got a bigger room, more energy, less energy, fine, okay? I just want you to have that memorable point. This is what we're covering, but what I've found now is that, and here's another key strategy we're going to talk about, is probably the biggest theme to take away this hour is to be present. And being present is not looking at the PowerPoint slide. Being present is being able to summarise what's on that slide behind you. Being present is about having a conversation with the audience, one at a time. Okay? The more you can push yourself, take the risk to be present and not try and be handicapped by the PowerPoint slide, that makes you much more effective. Because then the audience feels though that you are presenting to them and not just presenting the PowerPoint. Might as well just go home and flick through the PowerPoint yourself. Okay? No difference. Okay? So being present is probably the biggest theme today. Okay. As I said, these are all different things we want to cover through. Motivation, proof of work, the first one I want to cover. And I want to get into that. I don't want to show you too much videos early on because I want to just build up some suspense here. And I want to, here's something I was thinking about only a few weeks ago. Yes, PhD students, it's important that when you are defending your thesis, the academic motivation of your paper is critical. Okay, I don't doubt that. But why is it that when you defend your thesis, people ask you to actually present in person? Why is it that we get PhD students to present to us in person? Okay, if it's just the content of the paper that we are comparing against the academic literature and the data, the analysis, the models, there's a gap there. This thesis beats the gap. We don't need someone to present this. All right, it stands alone. But why still do we ask PhD students to present? Think about that. Okay, so it may be just 5% importance, it may be 10%, maybe 1%, but it is still more than 0% that PhD students, your ability to articulate and present your thesis is critical. And in some ways, you need to be able to paraphrase. Yes, there are parts of the thesis that you have to be very articulate about, the modelling, the specific logic, you cannot get that wrong, but there are other parts you can paraphrase. There are other parts like the literature. There are other parts like concepts. Okay, this is what Williamson says about transaction costs. Here is what it means for my thesis, and then you are saying what it means for your thesis. Okay, so these are all things you can do in your presentation that you cannot do in your thesis with the same effect when you're defending. Okay, so the motivation for presentation is just as important as the motivation for the paper. What I mean about motivation of the presentation is, why are you presenting? Why are you presenting? This is beyond PhD. Like, why are you presenting your lecture? Okay, why are you presenting whatever you're presenting? What is your motivation? What is your passion? Okay, so do you know what I'm passionate about? See, that's something I skipped when I started. But when I start talking to industry, 9 times out of 10, I start with talking about who I am and why I'm passionate about this subject, right? Otherwise, we don't even get to the content stage. Who are you and why do I care? Okay, so here's one way of seeing it, all right? If we had 2 by 2, we get a motivation in academic paper, great. High motivation, theory, contribution, modelling contribution, you get cited, great. But if you're able to present going on the vertical axis, then it's likely you get remembered and have even greater impact. I see it as additive and multiplicative. I don't see this as a substitute, okay? If you don't have the bottom, then you're not going to have the top, all right? So let's be clear here. I'm not putting down academic papers for their publication purpose only. I'm saying that you combine that with being able to present well can have a greater impact in reaching out to other academic audiences and industry. So this part, when we talk about motivation, we can talk about having a story and proof of work. So your story is very, very critical. Your story is critical. And why are you personally interested in this topic? Why you? Why is it you? When you present, tell a 60-second story about yourself. Why you're interested in this topic, even before you start talking about the topic. Okay? That's a way of getting you warmed up to the audience, or helping the audience to warm to you. You can get empathy from the audience by doing that. Okay, my short story, who I am. Okay, let me give you an example. Enough of me talking here. Okay, so I just want to listen to the first 1 minute.
2 takeaways from what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I love China. I'm an accountant, and I grew up on a farm. So what's the relevance of all of that? I grew up on a farm, which means I care more about making things and seeing things than talking about them. I'm not a journalist. I write academic papers, but hardly anyone reads them. And I spend all my free time coming across factories in China, and now do factory audits for the purpose of getting more detail about the factory. I get paid for the audits, but not as a business, because I want to get to the heart of finding the diamond in the rough.
There you go. There's my 1 minute spiel. And I even put in an apology for being an academic. All right? So that's a way of getting the industry to say, well, oh, this professor's different from other professors. This professor has some awareness about this stigma of being a professor, in industry. And I combine three things. I love China, I grew up on a farm, and I'm an accountant. And you're thinking, wow, how can this presenter put all these three things together? So I'm creating like they're orthogonal, totally opposite. You wouldn't even find those three things in a thesaurus. There's no synonyms in those three things, okay? And so this is a way in which that takes time to hone your story. Here's another example. All right, there's a lot of work to be done on blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to talk about this. What I am going to talk about is something else. And at the same time, there's another example where my passion is so forth. Another example, I get the audience to agree to a common future. I want you to think about how I weave all of that into 1 minute. Listen to this. My passion is in engaging with business people, but more importantly, recently engaging with factory owners and factories in China. And what I do now is we go in with a whole team, we video end to end the whole factory, the process, and then... Notice I'm coming away from the lectern. I'm coming closer to the audience. And we need to see... Here's my speak. We've got buyers coming from the West, engaging with suppliers in China, and they just see, okay, the supplier is someone we outsource to. But the future is that suppliers are people that we need a partnership with, work with, and help them to innovate. And that's the only future I see. And so fortunately, we have people in the China government also see it this way as well. What you've got in front of you is a frame. You'll have a handout. Would you like to do a handout? Because I'm going to go all over the place today. And I just want... Again, I'm apologising for being an academic or being an unstructured academic. Like what I just say. I'm going to go all over the place today. Right? But watch how I bring it back, okay? Watch what I do next to bring it back. Okay? Watch. I want you to see where I am at any point in time. Because the top four parts, okay? The top four parts, we'll come to this in a minute. The top four parts are basically what is innovation. There's four different areas. The bottom four parts are the catalyst for innovation. And so my content today will speak to various parts of this framework. We won't cover every part. We need a day to do every part of this framework. But I just want you to know that I know where I am, when it looks like that I'm going crazy. I'm getting too old to give an ordinary talk. Okay? What we got there? Okay, so I'm warming myself to the audience. How am I doing that? I'm not staying behind the lectern. I'm walking around. I even show an academic framework. Like, how can you do that in industry conference? Show a sort of theoretical framework. But I weaved it in to say that, look, I'm going to go all over the place today. I also said I could spend a whole day talking about this. I threw in a lot of things in managing the audience's expectations in 1 minute. Now, like this takes a lot of practice. I didn't set out to talk like that at the start of this talk. I just took a risk and let things fly. That's another thing I want you to take away today. If you want to improve your presenting, or if you want to change from what you did yesterday, last week, or last month, you need to take a risk. You need to take a risk. I'm taking a risk today with you. Okay? Every day is a risk. And by taking risks, you get better. And sometimes things just take over and it works on its own. So let's just go back to our PowerPoint, and hopefully we'll come back to that in a minute. What I'm going to do now is talk about proof of work. So we all hear about proof of work with blockchain, we all hear about fintech, things like that, proof of work. But actually proof of work, when you start to think about it, is something that we judge people on every day. Okay? When a presenter's before us, oh, okay, so where's their proof of work? Why should I listen to this presenter? Huh? Where's their proof of work? And we show our proof of work in different ways. Okay? Unfortunately, some academics show their proof of work by saying, well, I'm a professor, you need to listen to me. But a real showing of proof of work is actually showing data. How did you get your field data? What work have you done on all the modelling and things like that? Maybe you show a time-lapse photography of you sitting at your desk doing the analysis and showing time-lapse over 3 months. A video that just goes for half an hour could be very impressive. It depends who your audience is. But proof of work is critical. And so I've got different videos here, like a video here. We're just going to show you a YouTube video of me interviewing. We've just finished 660... This is when I was doing the 1,000 study. No, over 600 interviews. And right now, I just want to show you the steps we take in managing the interview process and also prospecting when we come to the expo. First of all, so I've done this in academic seminars, even at NUS when I presented there in 2014. I'd show this video for the first 30 seconds to 1 minute, just to emphasise that I was very serious about the field work I was doing. Like, I was inside it. Maybe too much for the average academic that views research as a cost-benefit thing, that this is too much cost to see the benefit of publication. Ah, that's fine. But I don't always look at the world that way. And so then I would show this to say, and this actually explains how I collected the data, the 1,000 interviews that we did in China. Proof of work. Proof of work. The video is an amazing thing of helping to document what you are doing. So let's go back, let's keep going, because what I'm going to show you now is a video that speaks to the idea of, okay, O'Connor, you always like this. How did you get from there to here? By the way, that is another way of capturing the audience's attention. I was once this, and now I am this. So I want to show you a quick video. Just bear with me. But what I want you to do during that video is I want you to make a note of different tactics I use in talking to industry. I've already given you some, and we're going to come back to some of them. Like, am I behind the lectern? Do I come out? Am I present? Am I giving out factual data? Am I challenging the audience? Am I exciting the audience appropriately? Okay, so let's just see how it goes. And this, again, taking risk in showing you this, because some of you might walk out and say, oh, enough of Neil loving himself. But let's go, shall we? Okay, let's... The rest of the class, his job is to ask questions. The question you ask... 2004. Relates to, if you notice that during the implementation time frame, most of the emphasis was in getting buy-in from top to bottom end. Now, if you were to read value chain analysis in chapter 1 of Stephen's text that he's asked you to buy and read, you'll think, oh, that sits on its own. How does it link into other practices that a firm institutes? So, a couple of budgeters, I haven't taught you for 15 years. I didn't get serious here. I try to remember some of it as I go. We have 90%.
right level. It depends, yeah.
Who would listen to that? I didn't. Not many people.
Let's have a look at some of the things we found in the study, survey study. As you know, when you first contract with a trusted client, you may qualify to enable the cost down negotiations. How do they do that? The person major has an engineering background, not an accounting background. So I tell my students, you've got an engineering degree and an accounting degree, do a double major.
That one's for Keshab.
We can throw it around and open it up and you'll see something like this.
That was my NUS presentation.
Lead times and delivery cycles, and we have customer power. These are the 4 big issues. When you go into the field, these are the 4 things that stand out. So welcome to the brief rehearsal of the talk I'll give the Canadian Chamber of Commerce on the 14th of February, which is tomorrow. The topic is how buyers manage their supplies in China. It's a very interesting topic because everyone around the world wants to know, well, how do we manage the risks? How do we manage the return? I want to talk about a few things today. How buyers manage their supplies in China. Specifically, how large buyers manage their supplies in China. There is a lot of books written about how to manage Chinese supplies. There are a lot of books about do's and don'ts, the risks, what you do, shouldn't do. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about what actual practice is being practiced by large buyers. And I'm also going to give you some insight as to what does the Chinese supplier, how do they do these managed relationships? And so made some really great comments to start with. And I want to move on from some of the...
See, I'm not behind the lectern here.
About the challenges of source. I want to talk about the challenges of the people you're sourcing from. Did pay $20 FOB? Oh, come on, can I have a bid somewhere? I've got 20, 20, 20, 20. Can we do 21, 21, 21? Anyone?
That's another strategy. Use auction. Do the auction in the classroom.
They must be good. Are you going to pay more for that? Anyone for 22? 22. Anyone for 23? For 23, thank you for military man over there. Right, 23 years, and something might go wrong. So let's do more inspection. You just dial up the inspection. You don't just want to go to a perfect factory. They'll price you out. You'll make no money. You make no profit from this factory. Oh, by the way, this factory was an order, I think. What do we have here? What are they making? Liverboards, yes, we all love them. The US government loves them because it started last year, they banned liverboards.
I'm telling the law now. The law.
Until the UL, they built the UL standard in the US to start certifying factories that make liverboards to bring them across the US. So now there are a limited number of factories in China that make liverboards. One of these factories is UL certified. So you can buy a liverboard, technically, from one of these factories, ship it to the US and be legal. Now you thought this wasn't there, but this is what I'm interested in.
This is my passion here.
What do? I go into factories and I want to find out how are these making bucket loads of money. Is a car audio manufacturer. I cannot believe they have over 10,000 units of inventory.
There's a Freudian slip in here. Watch for it. Listen for it.
They're just sitting there. And the cost of inventory is 25% of that value every year. You $250,000 divided by 25, that's how much it's costing the supplier. Suppliers don't understand the cost of holding inventory. You'll see that in a minute. The one over here, this is a USB factory. How is that making money? It's getting the lowest quality chips available. And quality, no, there's no quality inspection.